The Mammoth offense stays red hot. You disrespect this team at your peril. A huge win on the road against St. Louis.
You are Locked On Mammoth, your daily podcast on the Utah Mammoth, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to Locked On Mammoth. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined as always by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño, and together we're the dynamic duo that brings you Locked On Mammoth 5 days a week. Thanks for making us your first listen when it comes to the Utah Mammoth hockey team. The St. Louis Blues are the latest team to learn that you disrespect this Mammoth offense at your own peril. Robyn, when they were the Arizona Coyotes, you started the backup. And last year, when they were the Utah Hockey Club and not quite yet a playoff team, you could start your backup. But this is no longer a team you can start your backup goaltender against. The offense went off tonight. Keller, Cooley, the explosion was there. The defense has still got to come around, and we're going to talk about that. But as we look at this game against St. Louis, so much of the damage was done up front, and it's disrespect now when teams start the backup against you. That's all I can say.
It is too, and it surprised me. Like when I saw that Binnington was not starting, I'm like, okay, that's a decision, especially when you're going up against a team that had just won 4 straight. I wonder how that's going to work out for them. And then, lo and behold, within the first 6 minutes of the game, it's 3-0 and already a goalie swap.
Yep. Hofer was out, 3 goals on 6 shots. Binnington comes in. They scored on him too. All of a sudden it's 4-0. And Robyn, by the way, has some nuggets for you. So stay tuned for the nuggets. Plenty of nuggets. Robyn has nuggets coming up later about really, Robyn, in your your Twitter poll that you posted, I did say that I felt like Keller was going to go off. So I voted for the Keller goes off option, and I was not too far off, except he's been overshadowed in this case by a gem from Logan Cooley.
By a gem of Logan Cooley, absolutely. Let's just start with the appreciation of Logan Cooley. A 4.9 for Logan Cooley, including, Tom, the franchise's first natural hat trick.
Which is cool unto itself. And everydayers, I'm sure you guys know what a natural hat trick is. But for the new folks, first of all, welcome. Second of all, a natural hat trick is when you score your 3 goals consecutively.
With no breaks. No one else in between.
Right. So you are the goal scorer of 3 straight goals on the score sheet for your team. That is a natural hat trick.
And it was funny, too, because someone was like, instantly after it happened, wanted to look at, hey, what's the quickest natural hat trick in NHL history? By the way, I don't think that's ever going to be beat. It was like 21 seconds, and it was
almost Yanko, Chicago. Yeah,
back in 52.
Correct. See, I know these things.
Yeah, like that's something those are one of the unbreakable records, but that's also the last era, the pre-expansion era.
Yes, that was I mean, the original 6 was different. Sometimes there was some haves and some have-nots, but in this era, Robyn, the modern era, number 1, the Toronto Maple Leafs have not won a Stanley Cup, but number 2, that was an incredible performance. 4 minutes and 52 seconds of Logan Cooley dominance. Mm-hmm. And I mean, these weren't accidental goals. These weren't thrown at the net. Hope it goes in. Robyn, the goalie scored where he took the pass behind himself on the forehand, directed it through his skates, tucked it backhand. My jaw was on the floor. It was an incredible move at full speed, right down the slot. And Peterka, Gunther, and Cooley.
That line is turning out to be.
Robyn, I'm going to call him the pickup line. I'm naming them the pickup line. You know why? Because they always score. They are the pickup line. So
I love
these guys are incredible. I love watching them. They just seem to have the chemistry building. They're fast, they're smart, and they do a really nice job finding space not only for themselves but for each other. Heck, even Ian Cole scored off a nice little leave behind there. And I know he was falling down when he shot the puck, but hey, you know what? It's good to see Ian Colgan on the score sheet. He haven't had a little laugh.
I know, right? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that too. I was like, ooh, he got the shot on right as he tripped. That's some that. I mean, that takes some. That does still takes a little bit of skill in there.
Yeah, I mean that. Everything was going. So that is all to say, Robin. Everything was going absolutely right for Utah to start this hockey game on the road. They came out. And not only did they punch St. Louis in the face once, they did it repeatedly. The Blues called a timeout after the second goal, and then they right away gave up a third one. That's when they changed the goalie. That didn't stem the tide either, because then they scored again. The Mammoth made it 4-0. So really everything was going their way. But I sent you a text as it was going, and I said, not to get ahead of ourselves. Let's see how they finish. But this could be good for the rest of the road trip if they keep this up. And of course, Nostradamus knew that they had to get through 60 minutes, because why? What's been a bugaboo for these guys? Consistency. I still need a 60-minute effort. We didn't even get one tonight. Now they won big. Before we didn't get 60 minutes.
Before we do get to that, by the way, in staying with the appreciation of Logan Cooley, might as well throw out some of those nuggets already, focusing on Logan Cooley specifically. Just to put it out there, according to NHL PR, Logan Cooley became the 21st player in NHL history to score a hat trick in the opening 10 minutes and 55 of any game. The first player to accomplish the feat since Rocco Grimaldi of Nashville in 2021, who did it in 8 minutes and 8 seconds, and Jonas Donskor of Colorado, also in 21, in 7 minutes and 31 seconds. So it's been 4 years, Tom, since someone has done it.
Yes. Robin, I forgot to tell everybody today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Robin, those numbers you just tossed out there, Cooley beat all of them. And the other thing that we've kind of been waiting for, like we've seen Peterka and Gunther doing their thing, putting up multi-point efforts. But I think this was the game I was waiting for from Logan Cooley. I know I called it a couple of games ago that there'd be a hat trick. It didn't happen then, but it happens tonight. And I think finally this is, or at least I hope, okay, maybe this is me, trying to put it out there to the hockey gods, that now all three of them are going to start clicking. And this line is going to be a force to be reckoned with.
It was really cool because I believe, I'm not sure if at the time Natural Stat Trick was finished collecting data from the first period, but it put a shot percentage, right, for players, and it gives you the shot percentage of players. The shot percentage for Logan Cooley in the first period at 100%. He took 3 shots, and every single one of his 3 shots went in.
And he finished with 4 shots. So, yeah, that's pretty darn good. That's still 75% at the end of the night. Unsustainable, but I love it because Cooley was making plays that were instinctual for him, that were part of his game, that we saw flashes of the last couple of years, I think. The real thing that's going to separate the Mammoth, besides consistency, 60 minutes, guys, still waiting, but is going to be turning the flashes that we have seen from all these players into consistent efforts, into game in, game out performances, into every single night. This is what you're getting. And look, everybody's got an off night here and there, but you want that off night to be 1 out of every 40, not 1 out of every 5. But also manage your peaks and valleys. That means you're not having an exceptional night 1 in every 5, but maybe you have an exceptional night 1 in every 10, 1 in every 15, whatever it is, where you're that one player who just dominates. I think those players in the top 6 have a much more, just a higher chance of being that player. And I mean, look at Nick Schmaltz. He's turning into that player right now in a contract year, I might mention. But Schmaltz has been consistently good. He has been consistently elevated. And if this top 6 is consistently elevated, Robyn, this is a hard team to beat.
It is a hard team to beat. And I think too, because like what we're seeing and is with the the Gunther Cooley Peterka line, I think it opens up those opportunities for Keller, Schmaltz, Hayton. Right? It gives them those extra opportunities. It's weird to say that, right? It's weird because that's technically your first line in Keller, Schmaltz, Hayton. But with what Keller, Peterka, and Gunther are able to do, Cooley, Cooley, Peterka, and Gunther are able to do. They don't know who to put the best defenseman against.
Right. Who do you match up with? Do you go with the veteran, wily, crafty line, or do you try to go for the pickup line and try to match up with those guys? Robyn, I want to talk about this whole concept of disrespect around the league and the lack of recognition of this Utah Mammoth team, because I have some thoughts and I want to get your thoughts, and throw your thoughts down in the comments too on this subject. I want to get into this. And today's episode is brought to you by Rugiet. Look, let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, it's simple, and it's private. And it's all handled by real doctors. Visit rugiet.com/lockedonnhl to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/lockedonnhl. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONNHL so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Today's show is also brought to you by Game Time. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache sometimes. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer for your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that what you see is what you pay. No hidden fees at the checkout. There's no surprises. Going into it, that's what the seats cost. Boom. Plus, you can see exactly what the view looks like before you buy the tickets with their in-app seat view feature. I highly recommend that you utilize that as well, because then there is zero mystery on it. Don't miss out on the zone deals too. Those are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Back here, Locked On Mammoth, Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño. Hey, take a second, because a lot of you who watch our videos, it has come to our attention, are not currently subscribed. So please subscribe to the channel if you like the content. If you're here, you obviously like listening to what we have to say. We have a lot of fun bringing you this content, and subscribing is just that little way of telling us we're on the right path. We love the comments. We love the feedback. You can always get us on social media too. We're very available, and we love talking about the Utah Mammoth. So tell your friends about the show and take a moment and subscribe right now. So Robyn, speaking of comments, and I want fans to chime in on this one, I really feel like there is a lack of respect for this Utah Mammoth team right now, the way they're playing. As you mentioned, they won 4 in a row at home. And I still feel like with St. Louis throwing the backup at them tonight, and we're going to see as they go to Minnesota, Winnipeg, and Edmonton, if teams might be underestimating Utah based on certainly the fact that they used to be the Coyotes, but also that they weren't a playoff team last year. Now, look, you and I have front row seats to watching the improvement because we cover this team. That's our job. We have seen the steps forward they've taken. We know that this is a different club this year. But do you think the rest of the league is sleeping on these guys?
I certainly feel like a good chunk is. Maybe because they just don't pay attention or whatever it might be. I don't know what it is. But I will say this. This was, of course, after a game. But after the game against Colorado, it actually started circulating around where they, I think it was the Altitude Network or whoever it was, interviewed the head coach of the Colorado Avalanche, Jared Bednar, and he tipped his hat to Utah. He said that is a fantastic hockey team, and they deserve every bit of respect.
Colorado knows. They played them twice now, right? Colorado's played them twice. They won one and they lost one, and they were 1-goal games. I think when you're playing the Avalanche to a 1-goal game, win or lose, you're a pretty darn good hockey team.
Oh yeah, you are, and it amazes me that there are still teams that will write them off in those still ways, because we're still going to see that, right? And I wonder if now, because of what these teams, if they were paying attention or not, what they saw this Utah team did to St. Louis, if any team will even dare to put in their backup against them.
Probably. It's going to be until December, until people start catching on. And then, and only then, it's easy right now for Minnesota or Winnipeg or Edmonton to look at this game tonight and go, well, St. Louis, their backup started and he wasn't good. But really, St. Louis came back on him. And Robyn, this is a great segue to get into your charts and graphs. But the third period let down by the Mammoth that allowed St. Louis back in this hockey game. And really, it kind of started at the end of the second. That's what they're going to look at, and that's what continues to give these other teams hope. That's what continues to let these other teams say, nah, they're not there yet.
Yeah, and we've talked about the naps so many times, right? We talked about the naps, and
we do talk about the naps.
And it's crazy, Tom, because the first period was beautiful, like wonderfully executed first period. But when we look at the game flow map, all of a sudden, as the game goes on later on, St. Louis started to take control and they start to fight back. And almost, they make it at one point a 1-point game. And you're wondering to yourself, how did we get here?
I mean, look at just the way it plunges. And goes both ways, really, right? I mean, it goes up, it goes down, obviously. You can tell where all of a sudden things swung the way of the Mammoth, and then where things swung back towards St. Louis. Now, at the end of the third, of course, the Mammoth were able to put it away. They got a nice break, literally, off the stick of Schmaltz that trickles into the net for the power play goal to give him a 2-goal cushion, and, of course, the empty netter. But, Robyn, so for those who are watching on YouTube, and, of course, for the audio audience, please explain where the concerns lie when you're looking at this. And again, this is from naturalstattrick.com.
There are a couple of moments here that really jump out to me, Tom, and to me it is the opening couple of minutes of the second period, where what we see is a sharp jump in Corsi. This is a Corsi map, by the way. This is what the game flow does on Natural Stat Trick. It shows where the flow is going based off of shot attempts by a certain team. And St. Louis, you see there's extremely sharp spike in their direction in the first couple of minutes of the second period that also, Tom, lead to 2 St. Louis goals. Now, I thought, okay, Utah figured it out. They're not going to do it. They're not going to worry about that. Looks like they leveled out slowly and took back control the second period. But then the third period starts again, and we see another sharp spike. And all of a sudden, that's when it continues in favor of St. Louis. And they commanded the possession the majority of the second half of the game. It's just what it felt like.
And Robin, if you look, both of those spikes you talk about, and again, for those listening, both those spikes contain 2 St. Louis goals. So that's how deadly the naps are. The naps are a -2 on your goal differential, and it happened twice in the game. And that's what kept St. Louis alive. That's what kept the Blues in it and feeling competitive, even
And it,
despite a horrible start.
yeah, and that's the thing too. And by the way, credit to Clayton Keller for his scoring that. I think, I mean, both of the goals at the end of the latter two periods, right? One literally within the last 30 seconds off of a near breakaway, and the second being an empty netter. But if it weren't for that, this game could have gone to OT.
Yeah. It could have swung the other way. And I mean, credit to Utah to get through it, get the win in regulation. That's the win you need to wrap up in regulation, but they really need to start putting those teams away for sure.
They do. And that's the concern. I mean, at this in the same vein, Tom, I feel like a lot of people will tend to agree, hey, look, a win's a win is a win, right? We got the 2 points, and that's what matters. Yes, but we also don't want to see games like this, because against better teams, that's what will cost you 2 points.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Robin, there were 2 guys who were +4 tonight for the Utah Mammoth. And I always like, if you ever listen to Sirius XM Home Ice, you know El Gordo does the plus-minus police, or the plus-minus party bus. If you're +3, I think, or better. So +4, one's easy, Ian Cole. Okay, that one shouldn't surprise anybody. However, when I talk about the pickup line and I talk about puck possession, that is when, again, you're playing defense by playing offense, by possessing the puck, by generating chances. And that is how, with 3 assists, JJ Peterka, Mr. I don't play defense, was a +4 tonight. And that illustrates the entire point of what this line can do and the benefits thereof of just possessing the puck. Yeah, occasionally you're going to have to back check. Yes, you might have a turnover, but you don't have to worry about that when you're hanging on to the puck, when you're running around in the offensive zone, and you're generating scoring chances.
And that really is the beauty of it. I mean, seeing those, those kinds of players out there make a difference, and it's so nice.
It really is. Peterka was, I don't know if it was a stealth pickup, because certainly you saw what he did with the Sabres and Tage Thompson, although a lot of people ignore the Sabres just because of the seasons they've been having in their playoff drought. But Peterka had someone to feed. And now if Cooley's awake, Gunther knows how to shoot and score, and Peterka turns into a setup guy for those guys, and he's still logging 3 points a night, who's going to complain about that?
Also, fun fact for you, this is really interesting, that tonight was Peterka's first 3-assist game of his NHL career.
Oh, nice. Robin, you're full of the nuggets tonight. You have a ton of them. I love it.
Oh, I have a lot of them.
Oh, I know. You got some more on the hopper. We're going to have to get to those. So, in fact, why don't we do that? And then we're going to talk about heading on to Minnesota on the weekend here. It's actually a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday, Minnesota and Winnipeg, and we'll get into that in just a moment.
And today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel for just about everything when I place bets on sports, because it just makes my game day experience just that much more exciting. Maybe I'll build a same game parlay. Maybe I will double down on my fantasy players. Maybe I'll just put a 16-leg parlay on how each of the games are going to go on any football weekend. It just makes everything just so much more exciting, and I absolutely love it. Whether you're a casual fan or just love diving into stats or advanced stats like myself, FanDuel makes the game day experience just that much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Back here on Locked On Mammoth, Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We love talking about the Utah Mammoth. And again, we thank you for making us your first listen each and every single day when it comes to the Utah Mammoth hockey team. Robyn, they're coming into a big weekend set here. It's a 4-game road swing. And again, this game against St. Louis was game 1 of what will eventually be 8 of 9 on the road, which is a crazy stretch. They are gone for 4. Come back home for a one-off home game, and then they go east for another 4-game road swing. But before we get to all that, I know you had some more nuggets you wanted to get in there, and they're good. I do as a broadcaster, I live for having those little nugs you can drop in there in the middle of a game that inform, that entertain. I love it.
Absolutely, and shout out to Mammoth PR for actually having these ready to go real quick, so I'm able to read these, by the way. So I'm going to just start by throwing a bunch of stats about Clayton Keller in his night, because again, we talk about Clayton Keller and the nights that he had and the kinds of nights that he has against St. Louis, right? So with his second period goal, Clayton Keller became the first period to reach 100 points mark with Utah. And he was even a little bit of a side thing for that. He is the fastest to become a franchise first 100-point player since 1967 to 1968. And you compare it to other players who have done that, only 2 players have done it faster. Mike Rogers of the Hartford Whalers Carolina Hurricanes franchise, and Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, he was good, I think, right? Gretzky was good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that was in his second game, the empty netter, second goal, the empty netter. That was his 200th career goal.
That's wild to me that he's already at 200, Robyn. That's crazy. I don't even think he's been around that long to have 200 goals. But again, I mean, we're looking. I mean, that's just, I don't know. That's mind-blowing to me, but that's so cool.
And the last nugget regarding his 100 points is he is the first American player to be any franchise's first 100 points player.
That's saying something. That's it, because I would have said, well, and maybe the previous guy was Joey Mullen. But man, there have been some incredibly gifted U.S.-born players, goal scorers like Jeremy Roenick, Brian Leach. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that could have been that player. Mike Modano, but wow, that's impressive.
And I think it's so nice that we're at this point we can celebrate these milestones.
Right, absolutely, and it's nice to celebrate them with a win to start off this road trip. Do you have any other nugs?
Here's the last one. I don't think I mentioned it when it came to Logan Cooley, but something I actually missed with Logan Cooley. But at the time of his 4th point, Logan Cooley had logged just 3 minutes and 45 of total ice time. Since the NHL began tracking this kind of data in 2009, 2010, the only other player to do it was Tage Thompson in 2022.
So 4 points in 3 minutes and 45 seconds of ice time.
Yep.
That's crazy. So yeah, that's a fast start.
That's a very fast start. And it was, again, and each time you just noticed he was in the right spot. And that's what made it amazing.
Yeah. And that's why it's encouraging. That whole line is getting it going. They really look like they're firing it up. And as you mentioned earlier, you also have the Keller line. And again, I cannot say enough about Nick
Keller and Schmaltz are on point streaks.
I cannot say
Keller and Schmaltz are on point streaks right now.
I know. Things are going well. They're not always going to be going well. And honestly, you understand in a long season, there's ups and there's downs. They'll probably hit a losing skid at some point. It happens. But that's the maturity level, is don't let the skid get too long. Don't get too down. Don't let
Yeah.
the highs be too high. Just keep playing your game, and let's find that 60-minute effort.
Yeah, like you can feed off your momentum of, insane wins, but at the same time, like you don't want to have those, the super high peaks, because then all of a sudden you're setting an expectation, and then the lows will just be just as drastic. And
Right.
we don't want to see those, because we've seen games like that, right? We have seen a game where all of a sudden Utah drops a game and we were like, what in God's name was that?
Yeah. And Robyn, it's not going to get any easier. They're coming up against a Minnesota team that believes it's a playoff team, a Winnipeg team that is definitely a playoff team, and then they've got the two-time Stanley Cup runners-up in the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers, a little bit of a slow start. The Jets are playing pretty well. The Wild are up and down right now. But Robyn, again, winning these games against the teams you're supposed to beat, and I can't stress this enough, and I will continue to stress it throughout the entire season. The teams you need to put in your rear view mirror are the St. Louis's and Minnesotas if you, Utah Mammoth, are now a playoff team. So that's a big win at St. Louis tonight. Now they need a big win in Minnesota on Saturday.
And that's not an easy place to play either.
No, that building gets loud. It gets rocking. It's a cool building, XL.
It is. But as we get ready to close things out, something that came to my head, and I think, as a speculation, Tom, is a very reason why Keller and Cooley are having really good weeks and just really good openings to the season. I should say.
Okay.
They both have their eyes set on a Team USA roster for the Winter Olympics.
Oh yeah. No, I could see that. I think that would be pretty important to them, wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like Keller's as close to a lock as you can get it. I mean, I feel like everyone at this point, he's on everyone's radar at this point. But I don't want to, let's just say knock on wood for that. But Cooley wants to really make a name for himself because he's on the rise.
It's really going to be interesting. He's not only is he on the rise, but he's in a contract year and he knows it. Maltz is in a contract year, but how about if Cooley's doing this now and all of a sudden the game just keeps getting better and better and better. I understand it's a nice problem to have for the Mammoth, and no, Logan Cooley's not going anywhere, but boy, does he get more expensive every game that he plays like that. And he's got to know that. That's got to drive and motivate him too. And you know what? Good. That's the kind of stuff that'll push a player all the way through to win a round of the playoffs, or 2 or 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, as I mentioned too, the only thing that would have him take a little bit less if he has less term, right? Because he knows,
because then he can hit a home run again later.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And that's one of those betting on yourself. And at this point, like, we know what Logan Cooley's ceiling is at this point. Like, we know it's like this kid's superstar material.
And Peterka through 2030, Gunther through 2033. You know your line mates are.
You have a core set, and it is amazing.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing now is the start of it, right? This is the start of them being competitive, and you're going to have this core with you for 5, 6, 7 years, and it is going to be an amazing ride.
It really will. And Minnesota as a team, again, they've got to beat Winnipeg. I'd like to see them beat, or at least get a point out of Winnipeg. That's a tough building to play in. It's small. The fans are on top of you, much like Delta Center. They have good goaltending and good defense. We'll see how they do when they get there. But Robyn, critical weekend. And when we come back around to getting back on track with this team, maybe Sunday night, maybe Monday morning is when you're going to end up hearing from us next year. There will be 2 more big games in this road trip down. So I'm really curious to see how it all plays out for the Utah Mammoth. But I am excited to see how it plays out.
Oh, yeah. And you and I have talked about what this road trip meant and what we expect out of this road trip, what we're hoping to see based off how many points they get out of it. And I feel like how they started is I mean, it's a good sign, but also still puts me on my edge, right? I'm like, if we can keep the good parts, great. Just stay consistent, please.
Well, Robyn, this is the growing process. This is the growing pains, right? We see them taking steps forward and becoming a better team, but then they regress a little, even within the same game, and they do it a couple of times. That is exactly what the growing pains are. And that is the difference between being non-playoff to playoff contender. Making the playoffs doesn't make you a cup contender, but making the playoffs is the next logical step for this team. And again, I said last year about overachieving, if they overachieve this year, they become a contender. But at the very least, they need to be a playoff team.
Well, I think the best way you can describe it is we're talking bubble, right? Playoff bubble, that area where you're like you're right around there. Last year, I consider themselves like low bubble or out just on the outside looking in. But this time they're high bubble, right? They're right there. There's the expectation that they should fight for a playoff spot, and we need to see them do that in their next game against Minnesota, and then they got Winnipeg. And we'll see.
You're very kind to them. You really are kind to them because if they don't make the playoffs this year, it's a disappointment, and I'll be upset. That's where they should be. They should be in the playoffs now.
Well, they should be, but I
realize it's a tough division.
It is a very tough division. It is the Central Division is. I think tough wouldn't even be the right term. The Central Division this year is going to be mean.
If you can hang with Colorado, especially without Dursey in the lineup, don't forget they're doing this without Dursey. I just don't. I don't see, and potentially the return of Kerfoot soon. We'll see how he's, if and when he's ready to go.
We'll see how they play against Winnipeg, and I feel like that will be another test. That will be your next test.
But don't look past Minnesota.
No, absolutely. We're doing game by game at this point, right? We want to focus on that. So. As much as I always love to look for, the next quote true challenge. Not that Minnesota's not going to be one, but get your win there first.
Well, what's important to me about Minnesota? Sorry, Robyn, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So what's important to me about Minnesota is shutting down Kaprizov. Show me you can shut down a superstar. Right? I mean, you tried to shut down Makar and McKinnon. Didn't necessarily have success. They still found their way to score. Okay, your next chance to shut down a superstar is Kaprizov. Your next chance after that is Draisaitl McDavid. So let's show me you can shut down one superstar on a team in Kirill Kaprizov.
And the defense is getting better for that, right? I mean, it's been cleaning up its game. There were just those moments. So in a game against where you have a superstar, we need to be able to see those get cleaned up, because any little mistake, Kaprizov will take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, that guy can shoot, and he's not afraid to do it. So, Robyn, if people want to reach out to us, we tell them to comment here on the YouTube side. But if you're listening to the audio version of this, available anywhere you get your podcast, Robyn, where can they find us?
Yeah, you can find us on social media. We're active just about everywhere. I'm mainly active and manage over on Twitter/X. You can find us at Locked On Mammoth, The same at everywhere else. If you wanted to find us, that's on like Threads, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever you else want to follow us at. You can also follow me at Robyn_Leaño.
You can find me on Blue Sky at Tom Talks. I'm also on Twitter at Callahan on Air. And Robyn and I thank you so much. Pretty good start to this road trip here. Looks good so far with a 7-4 win over the St. Louis Blues. Minnesota on Saturday, Winnipeg on Sunday, and then they wrap it all up with the Edmonton Oilers early next week. So thanks for being a part of Locked On Mammoth.